Good morning and good evening, whichever part of the world you're from. Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Spirit Discussion Panel. Thank you for turning up, everyone. God bless you. I am, thank you so much, but I still got my tissue just in case. Thank you so much for asking. Hello, Ayati and Martin, Chantel. Some of you have missed your names out in the beginning. Can you all hear me and see me clearly before I begin the session? Can all of you hear me and see me well? You having any problems with the transmission? I'm not able to see any of your responses. Um, Namaste, Jessica. Okay, thank you, Manisha, for checking up on that. I'm not sure why I don't seem to get all of your comments. They just either come in a big rush or they don't at all. Hello, Pretty. Thank you. Thank you for checking up on that. Well, tonight we'll be talking about reincarnated ascended masters. This is a spirit discussion panel for those of you who are here for the first time. This is not a live reading session where I'm answering your questions, your personal questions, but this is a discussion panel, a spiritual discussion panel where we discuss about one topic a week. You know, we take one interesting topic that a lot of people will probably want to discuss about each week, and we discuss and talk about it. We share our views and we answer questions. And so this is something where it's a platform for you to basically gain and share knowledge and whatever you know in regards to the topic that we're discussing about. And tonight, as I said, we're talking about reincarnating ascended masters. Good. Thank you so much. Thank you, Laura. I feel better. Yeah. Well, I don't know what happened, Jessica. It just keeps coming in spurts. The comments never in one full. It doesn't have a flow to it. Well, today's topic is quite interesting, and I would say close to my heart, very close to my heart. It's been something that time and again, I've been questioned about. Time and again, I've questioned myself about. And tonight, I felt like, though initially I chose a different topic, I decided to I chose ego, doubt, and fear as tonight's topic, but I decided to speak about ascended masters instead. There's always a perfect timing for everything. So I felt that this time around I wanted to speak about something that is very close to my heart. And well, when we talk about ascended masters, the most common question that everyone wants to know is, who are these ascended masters? Okay. Now, ascended masters, what does it mean? What does the term mean? Have they always been destined to become masters, or were they, chosen randomly? How does it work, or do they work their way up there? I would say that it's a bit of both. All right. A couple of weeks ago, I discussed about creation. In order to understand how ascended masters work, we first need to see the basic formation, and existence of the one consciousness. So when we talk about different rays, there are different rays. There are 7 rays, and some are hidden. And it's like this, if you visualize this huge ball of light. Now this huge ball of light was what was initially there before any of us had the ability to move on and do anything. So this huge ball of light needed to raise its frequency, needed to raise its vibrations, all right? And therefore, in order for that to happen, it had to kind of explode into tiny units, billions of tiny units, each unit carrying 1 or 2 souls, depending on the purpose, the mission. So when we talk about the ball of light, now the ball of light, right at the core of it, right in the middle of it, is what we call as a God source. Now, if you ask me, what is the God source? Is there one person there, or is it a light or any vibration? What is the God source? The God source does contain a very high vibration, much higher than anything else in the exterior. So when you talk about the God source, there is indeed a person there, an entity. I would say an entity. Now, this entity does not control the entire consciousness, but acts as the core from which we, disperse information, disperse a lot of wisdom, we disperse light, a lot of things that come from the God source. All right, and every planet, every dimension has its core. Now, when we talk about the God source, what is the word God? God, as we know, well, before we even start, go further into Ascended Masters, I want to first talk about the whole term of God. Now, in this dimension, for instance, the many belief systems have created many gods and goddesses, whereas the true intention of any of them, these souls or messengers or prophets, as we call them, their only intention was to ever come and fulfill a mission that they had signed up for. And this mission has always been to play an important role in order to bring a mass amount of people into accepting the truth not based on a religion or faith, but accepting a truth that has always been a part of every single soul, the one consciousness. So these ascended masters, before they even became these ascended masters, they were just messengers. They were chosen based on their ray. So when I talk about the ray outside the God source, there will be many rays. There's a platinum, there's a gold ray, the golden ray. Have many rays that come out, and there's some that are hidden, in fact, that you cannot see, even if you're on the other side. They come to the God higher their vibration, the harder their challenges, their missions, and most of the time, almost about 99.9% of the time, those who become ascended masters at a later point in life always come in from the golden ray or the platinum ray. Now, the platinum ray is closer to the golden ray. They're in a way they've merged in a way, so you cannot really see the difference between them. So most of these ascended masters or souls who will be trained, who work their way up through different missions to become ascended masters, are just messengers, prophets. We as people from different parts of the world transformed the term ascended masters into gods and goddesses when initially they had no intention whatsoever to replace the God source and become the God, the goddess. Okay, that was purely out of ego that these gods and goddesses came about, these titles came about. It is to give them a sense of hierarchy and importance, whereas they would be just as happy even today to be just addressed as ascended masters. Now, why is it that they are given that position? Is it anything different? Why are they chosen to be given these names? And I would say because they work far harder, and each one of us, deep inside of us, we belong to them as much as they belong to us. They do not isolate themselves based on some kind of hierarchy system or religion or faith or anything that people in this world claim that they belong to. They do not isolate themselves from the rest of the population just because a few chose to believe in a particular ascended master and the others don't. It does not matter to them. At the end of the day, it is their mission that is served. So their focus has always and will always remain on the mission to lead in light, to lead in wisdom, to lead in love universally, and not just to a particular population who choose to believe in a particular faith. So that is how a lot of things have been misunderstood right from the beginning. Now, when there have been messages through Buddha or any particular ascended master, if you go through Jesus or Lord Krishna or any of them, if you could just go down the whole list, there are many of them. And all of these messengers and prophets, they have just come with the same message, which is to love one another, to realize potential, to work through up through your evolution ladder, to move on because they give you the promise of something far greater than what you believe you're capable of. And of course, to love each other and help each other. Now, it's never been about you believe me. If you don't believe me, you'll never get there. No ascended master ever preached religion. They only ever preached love, faith. They only ever preached, to believe in yourself. These are the messages that all of them always came with. It's just different missions, different forms. And sometimes, of course, back then, if you were to look at it for all practical reasons, it was not easy to travel to different parts of the world. Okay? So if Jesus was born in Jerusalem, that was all he could be, that he had a particular population he could, in fact, pass the message practically. Now, if you look at the world now, we have the internet, all right? And we have so much access to the rest of the world than they did back then. So if Buddha was belonging to a particular part of the world, that is all he could reach at that point of time. So it took time for his messages to be conveyed to the rest of the world. But by the time it actually reached the rest of the world, it turned into a religion. You have to believe this person. This person is God, and it's like Chinese Whisper. If you've ever played the game Chinese Whisper, you would know. It starts off as one thing and ends as another. The message is never the same, never uniform, and a lot of things are thrown in for good measure. So the whole thing about here that we need to understand is I'm not here judging any person based on their religion. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm talking about ascended masters. And I will come to this later as to why I just chose this topic tonight. But I wanted to say that as far as ascended masters are concerned, of course, they appreciate all the love. They appreciate all the love that comes their way. They are so grateful for everything except that one thing that every single one of them has not expected and definitely not willing to live by. They change from through multiple reincarnations. They have continually been trying and will keep trying to change and alter the messages and to try and infuse more love into it and to try and eradicate the need to separate populations based on faiths. Okay, so up till today, they are still hoping that this would happen and they keep striving. Now, what is the point of them reincarnating if the message that comes through is, misinterpreted, is misunderstood? Does it mean that just because someone is a reincarnated ascended master, that you have to basically believe everything they say? Now, for those of you who are spiritually inclined, you know that ascended masters come with a sense of wisdom and a sense of light that you do not normally see in other people. But there is a large population out there who will do everything and anything possible to feed their ego instead. Okay? So the reason why back then there were so many stories, truth, they did reincarnate, and that was more of a, it was known. If Buddha was around, he was known. His story went on to become he had a following. There was something like of an acceptance. The acceptance back then is different from the acceptance today, because today we refuse to be patient. We refuse to allow something that we cannot understand to come in the way of all the things that feed our ego. But we want everything to be fast. We want everything to be in control. If you don't have control over something, we tend to feel insecure and we want to, in fact, try and shut it down. So because of this, I would say today's population has a much bigger ego than they did back then. All right? And do ascended masters still exist on this plane? Yes, they do. They do. There are ascended masters who, till even now, are breathing and living as probably normal people, or a little more than normal people, going out there, helping people, reaching out to people to different forms and modes. And they reach out and they try to fit into society and pass on their messages. And a lot of times they don't even long to be recognized, because they know there is so much of, I would say, spiritual pollution to a certain extent in this world. because people tend to have there's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of pain that goes into even being accepted, basic things like even being accepted as an ascended master, because now people's inflated egos have gone beyond what you can even say as a level where you can even come down and accept things, you know, where religion itself is very unstable at this point of time. For an ascended master to go out there and claim to be whoever he or she was is a very, very, I would say, difficult decision to make. How many people would accept that as a truth? How many people won't? Of course, you would say, what does it matter? People who are meant to believe, they will, and who are not meant to believe, they won't. What does it matter? To a certain extent, it does. Because even ascended masters, to be honest, they're like everyone else. They're sensitive. Yes, there's a lot of wisdom, and there's a lot of, I would say, understanding of how things work here. But in a larger scale, if you look at it, they are they could be just as afraid, just as worried of how it would be accepted. How can we serve this mission at its best, and when would be the right time to reveal oneself? If you were to look at the world right now, whether it be online or offline, there are a lot of people who claim to be this and that. They claim I'm an ascended master. They claim that I'm there's so much of. I mean, I don't even want to go down that road, but you know what I'm talking about. There are a lot of people who claim to be this and that when they're not. So in this particular situation, people are so the population of the world is used to such individuals who take vulnerable souls for granted. You know, even with things like psychics, I feel there are a lot of genuine people out there, and I feel that there are people who want shortcuts. Like if they may be having some gifts, and then feel that you could turn to an income, a fast income, that would be wonderful. They look for ways to, I would say, tweak gifts, ability to for their own benefits. So it's like what gurus out there, gurus who claim to be this and that, and they tend to take for granted whatever faith people do have on them, and therefore the entire spiritual concept has been, I would say, understood. Because I mean, even for me, when I like where I come from, there are about probably 2,000 gurus out there. I think I'm even saying the number could be more. But at this point of time, I'm sure there are many, and I don't even know how many of them are going around saying they're ascended masters. If not. Now, how do you identify an ascended master? I will come to that as questions down. All right. I hope this information that I've shared so far was good enough for you to ask me any questions that you have. I look forward to that, and I'll talk about and also other things. But article concerns on that. Well, I just start anything, so I will be writing articles on. Thank you, Megan. Thank you. I feel that there could be a disconnection, some kind of connection issues here. I just don't know what is wrong, because when I started the session, it keeps going on and off again. I don't see any of your comments anymore. Or not.